Chapter 1. This was not a date. Maya Chin repeated the words in her head like a mantra as she stood in the lobby of a building that cost more than her entire existence. The marble floors reflected her scuffed boots back at her, judgmental and gleaming. A chandelier hung overhead like it was waiting to fall on someone who didn't belong. She didn't belong. Her phone buzzed. Her sister's name flashed across the screen. "Tell me you're inside," Claire whispered before Maya could even say hello. "Tell me you're wearing the dress I bought you and you're not currently hiding in a bush somewhere." "There are no bushes in a 47th Street lobby, Claire. The plants here cost more than my education." "Maya, I'm inside. I'm wearing the dress. It's 2 sizes too small and the color of a bruise, but I'm wearing it. It's aubergine. And you look amazing. I look like I'm about to be sacrificed at a billionaire altar." Claire laughed, and Maya closed her eyes, drawing strength from the sound. Her sister had been planning this for 6 months. Ever since she'd started working as a junior assistant at Sterling Properties. Ever since she'd learned that her boss's brother was a widowed billionaire who hadn't dated anyone in 3 years. Ever since she'd decided that Maya deserved more than a struggling bookstore and an apartment with a radiator that hissed like an angry cat. "Just be yourself," Claire said. "That's terrible advice and you know it. He's expecting someone fake. Someone polished. Someone who pretends to love yacht racing and whatever rich people talk about. Be yourself and you'll short-circuit his entire system." Maya looked at her reflection in the elevator doors. Dark hair escaping from an attempted updo. Brown eyes too wide, too nervous. A dress that cost more than her weekly tips that she was absolutely going to spill something on. What if his system doesn't want to be short-circuited? Then he's an idiot and you get a free meal at a restaurant where the plates cost more than my rent. The elevator chimed. "I have to go," Maya whispered. "Love you. Call me after. No matter what time." Maya ended the call and stepped into the elevator just as the doors opened. A uniformed attendant smiled at her with the particular warmth reserved for people who clearly didn't belong. "Mr. Sterling's penthouse?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. The ride was silent and smooth. When the doors opened again, she stepped directly into an apartment that could have held her entire building. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a city spread out like a jewel box. Furniture that probably cost more than her lifetime earnings was arranged in careful, expensive groupings. And standing in the middle of it all, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, was Adrian Sterling. Maya had Googled him. Obviously. Everyone had Googled him. The photos didn't capture what he actually was in person. Taller. Broader. Dark hair graying at the temples in a way that was aggressively attractive. A face that looked carved from something harder than stone. Eyes that were currently scanning her with the enthusiasm of someone reviewing a quarterly report. "Maya Chin," he said. Not a question. "Adrian Sterling." She stepped forward, hand extended, because she refused to be intimidated by a man who probably had people to tie his shoes for him. "Thanks for having me." "Your building's doorman looked at me like I was going to steal the chandelier." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or concern that she might actually try to steal the chandelier. "The security detail would have stopped you before you reached the elevator." "Good to know. I'll adjust my heist strategy accordingly." Silence. Awkward, terrible silence. This was a disaster. This was exactly the kind of disaster Claire had promised it wouldn't be. Adrian Sterling clearly had no interest in being here, and Maya was clearly out of her depth, and the only question now was how quickly she could escape without humiliating her sister. "Dinner is at 8, he said, glancing at his watch. "We have 15 minutes. 15 minutes until dinner? Or 15 minutes until you decide this was a mistake and have me escorted out." His eyes met hers again. Longer this time. "The restaurant is on the ground floor. We have 15 minutes until our reservation." "Right. Of course. Because why would you cook when you could just descend from your mountain and have food brought to you?" Something like that. Another silence. Maya was going to kill Claire. Slowly. With a spoon. "Mr. Sterling, Adrian." "Adrian." She swallowed. "Look, I know my sister works for your brother. I know she's been trying to make this happen for months. And I know you're only here because she probably threatened to quit or cry or both." He didn't deny it. So, let's just get through this, she continued. One dinner. We'll make polite conversation. You can check attempted dating off your to-do list. I can tell my sister I tried. And then we never have to see each other again. Something shifted in his expression. Not warmth exactly, but interest. Like she'd finally said something worth his attention. That's brutally honest. I don't know how else to be. It's exhausting pretending to be something I'm not. I'd rather just not. The words hung between them. Maya resisted the urge to fidget with her dress. From somewhere deeper in the apartment, she heard a sound. Soft footsteps. The creak of a door. And then a voice. You're her. Maya turned. A girl stood in the hallway entrance. 10 years old, maybe. Dark hair in a braid. Serious eyes that mirrored her father's exactly. She was wearing pajamas with cartoon animals on them and holding a tablet like a shield. I'm sorry, Adrian said, and for the first time, he sounded genuinely uncomfortable. This is my daughter, Lily. Maya crouched down without thinking. It was automatic. When you worked at a bookstore, you learned to meet kids at their level. I'm Maya. It's nice to meet you. Lily studied her. Not with the shy uncertainty of most children meeting strangers. With something sharper. Something assessing. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone with more sparkles. Maya laughed. Actually laughed, the sound surprising her. I left my sparkles at home. They're being dry cleaned. Lily's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. Lily, Adrian said, his voice careful. You're supposed to be in bed. I know. Then why aren't you? She looked at her father, then back at Maya. I needed to see her first. The words landed strangely. Maya stayed crouched, watching the interaction, sensing something important happening beneath the surface. Adrian's jaw tightened. Lily. What? The girl's voice was calm. Reasonable. You said I could have input. You promised. I said you could have input after I'd made a decision. Not before. How can you make a decision without all the information? Maya pressed her lips together to keep from smiling. This child was good. Really good. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, looking more frustrated than Maya had seen him since she arrived. Lily, go back to your room. We'll talk about this tomorrow. But I'm already here. And she's already here. Lily looked at Maya again. Can I ask you some questions? Lily. It'll be quick. I promise. Maya should have said no. Should have stood up, smoothed her bruise-colored dress, and let Adrian handle his daughter. But something about those serious eyes reminded her of every kid who'd ever wandered into her bookstore looking for answers they couldn't find anywhere else. Okay, she said. Ask. Adrian made a sound that might have been protest. Lily ignored him completely. What's your favorite book? Maya blinked. Of all the questions she'd expected, that wasn't one. That's like asking me to pick a favorite star. There are too many. Pick one. Okay. She thought for a moment. The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. It's a mystery about a group of people who have to solve a puzzle to inherit a fortune. Every time I read it, I notice something new. Lily nodded slowly, like she was filing the information away. What's the last book you loved? I just reread From the Mixed-Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. About the kids who run away to live in a museum. It made me want to sleep in a giant bed in an art gallery, which is apparently not allowed. It's not, Lily agreed. I checked. Maya laughed again. Adrian stood frozen, watching them both with an expression Maya couldn't read. What do you do? Lily asked. I work at a bookstore. Page and Palette in Brooklyn. I do story time for kids on Saturdays, which is basically my dream job because I get to be loud and silly and no one tells me to stop. Do you like animals? I love animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was little, but then I realized I'm too squeamish about needles. Now I just pet every dog I see on the street and call it a day. Do you know how to braid hair? Badly, but enthusiastically. Lily's mouth twitched again. The almost smile was definitely closer this time. What's your favorite food? Pancakes. Specifically the ones from a diner near my apartment that are shaped like Mickey Mouse. They're not fancy, but they taste like happiness. My mom used to make pancakes, Lily said quietly. Regular shaped. But she let me put as many chocolate chips as I wanted. The air in the room changed. Adrian took a step forward, his hand reaching for his daughter's shoulder. But Lily didn't look upset. She looked thoughtful, like she was running calculations in her head. "One more question," she said. "Lily, just one, Daddy." He stopped, waited, something vulnerable flickering behind that stone-carved face. Lily looked at Maya with those serious, assessing eyes. "Why are you here?" It was such a simple question. And such a complicated one. Maya could have lied. Could have given the easy answer, "Your father's handsome. Your aunt set us up. I'm looking for a nice dinner." But something about the way Lily was watching her demanded honesty. "Because my sister loves me," Maya said slowly. "And she thinks I've been sad lately, even though I haven't told her that. She thinks I need something I don't know how to ask for. And she loves your uncle enough to make him crazy until he arranged this. So I'm here because my sister is stubborn and she wants me to be happy, and I love her enough to let her try." Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Once. Sharp and decisive. "Okay." That was all. Just okay. But something in her eyes shifted. The assessment was complete. The verdict, whatever it was, had been reached. She turned to her father. "She can stay." Adrian stared at his daughter like she'd just announced she was running away to join the circus. "Thank you for your approval. Now bed." "I'm going." Lily walked toward the hallway, then paused. Looked back at Maya. "Your dress is the wrong color for you. You should wear yellow. Like sunshine." Then she was gone, disappearing into the depths of the apartment, leaving chaos in her wake. Maya stood up slowly. Her knees cracked. The too small dress shifted in uncomfortable ways. She looked at Adrian, who looked back at her with an expression she couldn't begin to decode. "Well," she said. "That was unexpected. I'm sorry." She's usually exactly that, I'm guessing." Maya shook her head, still processing. "She's amazing. You know that, right? Intimidating, but amazing." Adrian blinked. Like no one had ever said that about his daughter before. Like he'd been waiting years to hear someone else see what he saw. "She's a lot. She's a 10-year-old who lost her mother and now has to watch her father date strangers. Of course she's a lot. She's surviving." The words landed hard. Maya saw it in the way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes flickered with something raw and quickly hidden. "We should go," he said. "Dinner." "Adrian." He stopped. Maya didn't know why she pushed. Self-preservation, probably. The instinct to flee before she got in any deeper. But something about that flicker of vulnerability made her want to be honest, even if it cost her. "You don't want to be here." "I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted. We can walk out that door, tell our families we tried, and never speak again. No harm, no foul." He looked at her for a long moment. Really looked. Like he was seeing her for the first time. "My daughter just interviewed you in my living room," he said slowly. "She asked about books and pancakes and why you exist. And then she told you to wear yellow. She has strong opinions. I respect that. She doesn't have opinions about anyone. She hasn't cared about anyone. Not since." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Maya's heart cracked, just a little. For this guarded man and his fierce daughter. For the weight they were both carrying. For the way Lily had looked at her like she was searching for something important. "Lily doesn't want me to date," Adrian continued. "She's made that very clear. Every time my sister suggests someone, Lily finds a reason they're wrong. Too loud. Too quiet. Too interested in the money. Too interested in me. And tonight." He shook his head slowly. "Tonight she asked for pancakes." The words hung between them. Maya thought about Lily's quiet comment, "My mom used to make pancakes." Thought about the way she'd asked about favorite foods and braiding hair and books. Thought about the verdict at the end. "She can stay." "She asked if you know how to braid hair," Adrian said. "My wife used to braid hers. Every morning. Lily hasn't let anyone touch her hair since the funeral." Maya's throat tightened. 3 years. This fierce little girl hadn't let anyone touch her hair in 3 years. "I should go," Maya whispered. "This is too much. I'm too much. Your daughter needs stability, not some bookstore girl who shows up in the wrong color dress and makes inappropriate jokes about heists." "Probably." The word was quiet. Honest. Maya nodded, already turning toward the elevator. But Lily asked you to stay. She stopped. And I don't know what that means. Adrian's voice was rough, like the words cost him something. I don't know if it means anything at all. But she asked. And I can't remember the last time she asked for anything. Maya stood with her back to him, staring at the elevator doors. One step, and she could be inside. One step, and she could escape this strange, intense apartment and this strange, intense man and his strange, intense daughter. One step, and she could go back to her life. Her bookstore. Her hissing radiator. Her predictable, uncomplicated existence. She thought about Lily's serious eyes. About the way she'd said she can stay like it was a pronouncement. About the almost smile when Maya mentioned pancakes. She turned around. Adrian was watching her with an expression she couldn't name. Hope, maybe. Fear. Something caught between the two. One dinner, she said. And then we reassess. Something shifted in his face. Not a smile. She wasn't sure he remembered how to do that. But something close. One dinner, he agreed. He offered his arm. Maya stared at it for a beat too long. Then she stepped forward and took it, feeling the warmth of him through his jacket, the solid strength beneath the expensive fabric. If your daughter asks, she said as they walked toward the elevator, I'm wearing yellow next time. Adrian looked down at her. Next time. If there is one. Which there probably won't be. Because this is insane and I'm clearly not your type and you're clearly not looking for Maya. She stopped talking. You're rambling. I ramble when I'm nervous. It's one of my many flaws. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. I don't know what my type is anymore, Adrian said quietly as the doors closed. I don't know if I ever did. But I know my daughter just woke up for the first time in 3 years. And I know you made her almost smile. Maya's heart was beating too fast. That doesn't mean anything, she said. Maybe not. He looked at her reflection in the polished elevator doors. But it means something to me. The elevator descended. Maya held onto his arm and tried to remember how to breathe. 3 days had passed since the interview date. 3 days since Maya Chin had stood in a billionaire's penthouse and been interrogated by a 10-year-old about books and pancakes and the meaning of her existence. 3 days since she'd walked into that elevator on Adrian Sterling's arm and felt something shift in her chest that she absolutely refused to examine. She was not thinking about him. She was definitely not thinking about the way his eyes had softened when she talked about Lily. Or the way he'd admitted that his daughter hadn't let anyone touch her hair in 3 years. Or the way he'd looked at her in the elevator like she was something unexpected and possibly dangerous. She was thinking about story time. Saturday mornings at Page and Palette were Maya's favorite hours of the entire week. The bookstore opened early for the kids, and Maya got to be loud and silly and wear a different themed apron depending on the book. Today it was dinosaurs, which meant an apron covered in cartoon stegosauruses and a voice that was already hoarse from roaring. And then she bellowed, holding the book open to a spread of a T-Rex chasing a tiny dinosaur through a prehistoric forest. The T-Rex said, "Roar," shouted 12 children in various states of excitement. "Roar," Maya agreed, stomping her foot for emphasis. The children dissolved into giggles. Parents smiled from the periphery, sipping coffee and pretending they weren't exhausted. A little boy in the front row, maybe 4 years old with glasses too big for his face, pointed at the book with intense concentration. "Why is the T-Rex chasing him?" he asked. "Is he hungry?" Maya crouched down to his level. "That's a great question. What do you think?" "I think maybe he just wants a friend. But he doesn't know how to ask because he's too loud and scary." Maya's heart clenched. "You know what? I think you're right. Sometimes the loudest, scariest people are actually just lonely and don't know how to say it." The boy nodded sagely, satisfied with this answer. Maya continued the story, but her mind flickered briefly to Adrian Sterling. To the way he'd stood in his penthouse looking at his daughter, like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to earth. To the way he'd said my wife used to braid hers and something raw had passed behind his eyes. Lonely and didn't know how to say it. She shook off the thought and finished the story with an extra loud roar that sent the children into hysterics. Afterward, She helped parents find books, recommended new releases to regulars, and spent 10 minutes helping the little boy with glasses find every dinosaur book in the children's section. By noon, the rush had died down. Maya was behind the counter, restocking the impulse buy shelf with bookmarks and literary-themed candles, when the bell above the door chimed. "Be right with you," she called without looking up. "If you're looking for the new release table, it's to your left. If you're looking for the bathroom, it's in the back, and I have to warn you, the lock sticks." No response. Maya looked up. Adrian Sterling stood in the doorway of her bookstore, looking exactly as out of place as she had felt in his lobby. He was wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal coat over a navy sweater, and he was holding something behind his back. His expression was somewhere between determination and mild panic. Maya blinked. "You have got to be kidding me." "I brought coffee," he said quickly, producing 2 cups from behind his back like a peace offering. "And before you say anything, I know this is strange. I know I should have called. I know, is that from Beans and Dreams?" He looked down at the cups, confused. "I don't know what that is. I stopped at a place on the corner." The sign said coffee and had a picture of a smiling bean. Maya felt her lips twitch. "That's Beans and Dreams. It's my favorite." "I didn't know that." He walked toward the counter, setting the cups down carefully. "I just picked the closest one. I didn't want the coffee to get cold." "You didn't want the coffee to get cold," Maya repeated slowly. "So you drove to Brooklyn, found a parking spot near a bookstore you'd never visited, bought coffee from a random cafe, and brought it inside without knowing if I was even working today." Adrian's jaw tightened slightly. "When you say it like that, it sounds creepy? Stalkerish? Like the opening scene of a true crime documentary." "I was going to say impulsive, but those also work." Maya stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed. She couldn't help it. The absurdity of the situation, this guarded billionaire standing in her tiny bookstore with coffee he'd bought from her favorite cafe without even knowing it was her favorite cafe, was too much. "You're insane," she said, still laughing. "You know that, right?" "Completely, certifiably insane." "Probably." He pushed one of the cups toward her. "Are you going to drink the coffee or just mock me?" "Both. Definitely both." She took the cup and sipped. It was perfect. Exactly how she liked it: oat milk, 1 sugar, extra shot. Which was impossible because she hadn't told him how she took her coffee. She looked at him suspiciously. "How did you know my order?" "I didn't. I told the barista I was meeting someone who worked at a bookstore and asked what she'd recommend for someone who seemed like she had a lot of energy and probably needed caffeine, but also something that wouldn't make her more jittery." He paused. "She asked if you were the one with the pineapple shirt who always orders oat milk." Maya looked down at her shirt. "Pineapples. Again." "I have a lot of pineapple shirts," she muttered. "It's a problem. I like them." The words were simple, matter of fact, but something in his tone made Maya's cheeks warm. "Okay," she said, setting down the coffee. "Why are you really here, Adrian?" He hesitated. For a moment, he looked almost vulnerable, like he wasn't sure of the answer himself. "I don't know," he admitted. "I've been trying to figure that out since I left the apartment. I had meetings this morning. Important ones. My assistant kept texting me reminders. And I kept staring at my phone, thinking about how you made my daughter almost smile. How you didn't try to impress me. How you said you'd rather just be yourself because pretending is exhausting." Maya waited. "I canceled the meetings." He said it like the words surprised him. "I told my assistant I had a personal matter to attend to, and then I drove here. Because I couldn't stop thinking about you, and I don't know what that means, and I don't know what to do with it, and I thought maybe if I saw you again, I'd figure it out." The confession hung between them. Maya's heart was pounding. This man, this powerful, guarded, complicated man, had canceled meetings to bring her coffee and stand in her bookstore and admit he didn't know what he was doing. "That's..." She trailed off, searching for the right word. "Really honest. I'm trying something new." He almost smiled. "My daughter said I think too much and talk too little. She said if I wanted you to come back, I should probably start with honesty." "Lily said that?" "Lily said a lot of things after you left. Including, and I quote, She's the first one who didn't look at me like I was a problem to be solved. Maya's throat tightened. She's not a problem. She's a kid who lost her mom and is trying to protect herself and her dad from getting hurt again. That's not a problem. That's survival. Adrian looked at her for a long moment. You see her. I see a 10-year-old who interviews strangers like she's conducting job interviews for the most important position in the world. Of course I see her. She's not exactly subtle. She's not, he agreed. But most people miss what's underneath the questions. They just see a strange, intense kid who makes them uncomfortable. Maya thought about Lily's serious eyes. About the way she'd asked, "Why are you here?" like the answer actually mattered. She's not strange, Maya said quietly. She's careful. There's a difference. The bell above the door chimed again. A woman with a stroller entered, and Maya automatically shifted into work mode. I have to, she gestured toward the customer. Adrian nodded. I should go. I wanted to bring you coffee. And see your bookstore. And maybe ask if you'd like to have dinner again. Without the interview portion this time. Maya hesitated. Every rational part of her brain was screaming that this was a bad idea. That she didn't belong in his world. That Lily's approval was a fluke. That she was setting herself up for heartbreak. But then she thought about Lily's almost smile. About Adrian admitting he canceled meetings because he couldn't stop thinking about her. About the way he'd brought her coffee from her favorite place without even knowing it was her favorite place. I work until 6, she said. And I'm not wearing that dress again. It smells like expensive regret. Adrian's expression shifted. Something warmer. Something almost like hope. I can work with that. Good. Because I own approximately 17 pineapple shirts and 0 more bruise-colored dresses. I liked the dress. You're lying. I'm not. He paused. But I'd like you in yellow better. Maya's heart stuttered. He remembered. He'd remembered Lily's comment about yellow. I have to help that customer, she said, her voice slightly unsteady. I'll be back at 6. He turned to leave, then stopped. Maya? Yeah, thank you. For seeing her. Then he was gone, the door chiming softly behind him. Maya stood frozen behind the counter, clutching her coffee, watching the space where he'd been. The customer with the stroller cleared her throat. Is he single? She asked hopefully. Maya blinked. What? No. I mean, yes. Technically. But not, he's not, the woman grinned. Honey, he brought you coffee and said he'd be back at 6. He's single and he's interested. The question is whether you're interested back. Maya looked down at the coffee. Oat milk, 1 sugar, extra shot. Perfect. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know what I am. But even as she said it, she knew that wasn't entirely true. At 6 o'clock on the dot, Adrian walked back through the door. Maya had changed out of her dinosaur apron and was wearing her standard post-work uniform, jeans, a sweater, and her favorite yellow sneakers that had definitely seen better days. Ready? He asked. Almost. She grabbed her bag from under the counter, then paused. Can we go somewhere normal? Like, actually normal. Not a restaurant where the plates cost more than my security deposit. Adrian considered this. Define normal. Somewhere with menus that have pictures. And waiters who don't judge you for ordering French fries as a main course. I know a place. 20 minutes later, Maya found herself in a small diner in Park Slope. Red vinyl booths. A jukebox that only played songs from the 80s. A waitress named Fran who called everyone Han and refilled coffee without asking. Adrian sat across from her, looking strangely comfortable despite the fact that he was definitely the only person in the establishment wearing what Maya estimated to be a $5,000 coat. How do you know about this place? She asked. Lily. He unfolded a menu that was sticky in a way that suggested decades of maple syrup. She has a thing for diner pancakes. We've tried approximately 47 diners in the tri-state area. This one ranks 3rd. What's first? Small diner in New Jersey. The pancakes are shaped like the state. Lily says it's geographically accurate and delicious. Maya laughed. She's incredible. You know that, right? I'm learning. He set down the menu. I spent 3 years just surviving. Making sure she was fed and safe and going to therapy. I thought that was enough. I thought if I could just keep us both from falling apart, that was success. And now? He looked at her. Now I'm realizing that surviving isn't the same as living. Lily's been ready to live for a while. I'm the one who's been stuck. Fran appeared at their table, order pad in hand. What can I get you, hon? Maya didn't hesitate. Mickey Mouse pancakes. Extra chocolate chips. Fran wrote it down, then looked at Adrian. And you? He glanced at the menu, then at Maya. Same. Fran raised an eyebrow but said nothing, just shuffled off toward the kitchen. You're getting Mickey Mouse pancakes? Maya asked, grinning. I'm getting Mickey Mouse pancakes, he confirmed. Lily would never forgive me if I came here and ordered something boring. Your daughter has excellent priorities. They talked for 2 hours. About everything and nothing. About Maya's childhood in Flushing, growing up above her parents' dry cleaning business. About her sister Claire's relentless optimism and how it had both saved and annoyed her in equal measure. About her dream of opening a children's bookstore someday, one with a reading nook and a resident cat and story time every single day. Adrian listened. Actually listened. He asked questions that showed he was paying attention. He remembered details she'd mentioned in passing. He didn't check his phone once. When Fran brought the check, Maya reached for it automatically. Adrian's hand covered hers. My treat. Adrian, I can pay for my own pancakes. I know you can. But I asked you to dinner. Let me. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she pulled her hand back slowly. Fine. But next time, I'm paying. And there will be a next time, right? Or is this the part where you realize I'm too loud and too pineapple obsessed and too likely to embarrass you in public? Adrian's expression shifted. Something serious underneath the calm. Maya, I've spent the last 3 years surrounded by people who want something from me. Deals. Money. Connections. Status. You walked into my apartment, looked at my daughter like she was the most interesting person in the room, and asked if you could leave because you didn't want to be somewhere you weren't wanted. She shrugged, uncomfortable. That's just being a person. That's not special. Yes, he said quietly. It is. The word hung between them. Maya looked away first, suddenly flustered. Okay, well, this has been weird. Good weird. But weird. I'll drive you home. You don't have to, I know. He stood, pulling out his wallet. But I want to. The drive to her apartment was short. Maya gave directions. Adrian followed them without complaint, and when they pulled up in front of her building, she sat for a moment, not quite ready to get out. This is me, she said. The radiator that hisses like an angry cat is on the 3rd floor. You can't miss it. Adrian looked up at the building. Old brick. Fire escape zigzagging down the front. A cat sitting in a window on the 2nd floor, judging them both. It's perfect, he said. It's a dump. It's yours. Maya felt that thing in her chest again. The shift. The danger. I should go, she whispered. Probably. Neither of them moved. Finally, Maya opened the car door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of exhaust and the distant sound of a subway train. Adrian? Yeah. I'm glad you brought me coffee. Even if it was slightly stalkerish. He almost smiled. I'll work on my delivery. Good. Because I have standards. She stepped out, then leaned back down to look at him through the open door. Tell Lily I said hi. And that I'm still thinking about pancakes. I will. She closed the door and walked toward her building. At the entrance, she turned back. He was still there, watching her. She waved. He lifted a hand in return. And Maya walked into her building, climbed the 3 flights of stairs to her apartment, and stood in her tiny living room with the hissing radiator and the stack of books she hadn't read yet and the overwhelming sense that something in her life had just fundamentally shifted. Her phone buzzed. Claire, how did it go? I'm dying. Tell me everything. Maya stared at the message for a long moment. Then she typed, he brought me coffee. We had Mickey Mouse pancakes. I think I'm in trouble. 3 dots appeared immediately. Claire, trouble good or trouble bad? Maya looked around her apartment. At her pineapple shirts draped over the chair. At her books stacked in precarious towers. At the life she'd built, small and safe and entirely hers. Trouble good, she typed. I think. She hit send and set the phone down. Outside, she heard a car engine start, then fade into the night. Maya pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her heart beat too fast, and wondered what she'd just gotten herself into. The next morning, Maya woke to a text from an unknown number. "Good morning. Lily wants to know if you know how to make pancakes that aren't Mickey Mouse shaped. She says regular pancakes are statistically superior for even cooking. I'm just the messenger." Maya grinned at her phone. "Tell Lily that Mickey Mouse pancakes are about joy, not statistics. But yes, I can make regular pancakes. They just won't be as fun." The response came almost immediately. "She says she'll be the judge of that. Also, she wants to know if you're free this afternoon. There's a robotics exhibit at the Science Museum. She has questions and thinks you might have better answers than me." Maya's heart did something complicated. What time? 1 hour later, Maya stood outside the Science Museum, wearing jeans and a sweater and trying very hard not to read too much into the fact that Adrian had texted her. That Lily had asked for her. That she was about to spend a Saturday afternoon with a billionaire and his 10-year-old daughter like it was the most normal thing in the world. A black car pulled up. Adrian stepped out, looking slightly less formal than before, still expensive, but in a dark jacket and jeans that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Lily was already unbuckling her seatbelt before the car fully stopped. "Maya." She climbed out, tablet in hand, expression serious. "I have a list of questions. 43 of them. Dad said that might be too many, but I explained that robotics is complex and requires thorough investigation." Maya crouched down to her level. 43 questions is ambitious. "I respect that. But fair warning, I only know so much about robotics. My expertise is more in the books about robots category than the actual robots category." Lily considered this. "That's acceptable. I've categorized the questions into 3 tiers. Tier 1 questions are basic enough that a librarian could probably answer them. Tier 2 requires some engineering knowledge. Tier 3 I'm saving for the exhibit experts." "You made categories?" "Obviously." Maya looked up at Adrian, who was watching them both with an expression she couldn't quite read. Something warm underneath the usual reserve. "Your daughter is terrifying," she said. "I love her." Adrian's mouth twitched. "She likes you too. She told me this morning that you have good question-answering energy. That might be the best compliment I've ever received." They spent 3 hours in the museum. Lily led the way, tablet ready, firing off questions at every exhibit. Maya answered what she could, admitted when she didn't know something, and helped Lily formulate better questions for the museum staff. Adrian followed behind them, quiet but present, occasionally offering insights that surprised Maya. "You know about robotics?" she asked at one point. "I invested in a few startups. Had to learn the basics to avoid getting cheated. Just casually investing in robotics startups. No big deal." He glanced at her. "Is that weird?" "A little. But in a that's interesting way, not a you're a different species way." Lily tugged at Maya's sleeve. "There's a workshop area where you can build a simple robot. I already read the instructions online. They're suboptimal, but I think we can improve them. Let's do it." They built the robot together. Lily directed. Maya handed her pieces. Adrian held the instruction manual and tried not to laugh as Lily improved the design. By the end, they had a small, slightly lopsided robot that moved in wobbly circles and made a beeping sound every few seconds. "It's beautiful," Maya declared. "It's structurally inefficient," Lily said. But she was smiling. That almost smile from the first night, fully realized now. A real smile that lit up her whole face. Adrian stared at his daughter like he was seeing a miracle. On the way out, Lily grabbed Maya's hand. It was casual, automatic. Like she'd been doing it for years. Maya didn't react, didn't make it a thing, just swung their joined hands slightly as they walked. "I had fun today," Lily said quietly. "More than I usually do." "I had fun too. Thanks for inviting me." "You're welcome." Lily paused. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Are you going to marry my dad?" Maya nearly tripped over her own feet. "Lily." Adrian's voice was sharp with embarrassment. "What?" Lily looked genuinely confused. "It's a logical question." You like her. She likes us. We like her. That's how families start. Maya crouched down again, heart racing. Lily, your dad, and I have known each other for less than a week. Marriage is. That's not something people decide that fast. Why not? Because. Maya searched for the right words. Because relationships need time to grow. You have to learn about each other. Figure out if you fit together in real life, not just on good days. Lily considered this. That makes sense. But you do fit? I've been observing. Your patterns match. My patterns match? You're both honest when it matters. You both like pancakes. You both look at me like I'm a person, not a project. Lily's voice was matter of fact. Those are important compatibility factors. Maya felt her throat tighten. They are. You're right. So I'll keep observing. Lily nodded decisively. And when I have enough data, I'll let you know my conclusion. Thank you. I appreciate that. Lily nodded again, satisfied, and walked toward the car. Maya stood slowly, looking at Adrian. His expression was complicated. Embarrassment, yes. But underneath that, something raw. Something hopeful. She's never. He stopped, shook his head. She's never grabbed anyone's hand before. Not since her mother. Maya looked at the car, where Lily was already climbing in, tablet out, probably making notes about their conversation. I'm not trying to replace anyone, Maya said quietly. I hope she knows that. She knows. Adrian's voice was rough. That's the point. You're not trying to be her mother. You're just being you. And somehow, that's exactly what she needs. They stood in the museum lobby, people flowing around them, a family taking photos by the dinosaur skeleton, a group of teenagers laughing by the exit. I should go, Maya said. I have story time tomorrow. Need to practice my farm animal impressions. Adrian smiled. Actually smiled. It transformed his face. Can I see you again? Not here. Not with Lily. Just you and me. Maya should have said no. Should have pointed out all the reasons this was moving too fast, getting too complicated, becoming too real. Yes, she heard herself say. I'd like that. His smile widened. Wednesday night? I'll find somewhere normal. No plates that cost more than your rent. Good. Because I have a strict budget for dinner-related anxiety. I'll keep that in mind. He walked her to the subway, because she refused to let him drive her home again. Adrian, I have a Metro card and I'm not afraid to use it. At the top of the stairs, they stood for a moment, the cold wind whipping between them. Wednesday, he said. Wednesday. Maya descended into the subway, swiped her card, caught her train. Only when she was seated, surrounded by strangers on their way home, did she let herself process the day. Lily grabbing her hand. Lily asking about marriage. Adrian smiling like she'd given him something precious. Her phone buzzed. Claire, update. Now. Maya typed, I spent the day at a science museum with a billionaire and his genius daughter. She asked if I was going to marry her dad. He smiled at me like I was the answer to a question he didn't know how to ask. Claire's response was immediate. I told you. I told you this would happen. Maya stared at the message. You told me to be myself. That's it. Being yourself, I.S. the magic, you idiot. Now text me every detail of the next date, or I'm showing up at your apartment with mom's photo albums. Maya laughed, earning a look from the woman next to her. She leaned her head against the window and watched the tunnel walls blur past. Wednesday, she thought. Wednesday. Arrived like a held breath. Maya had spent the intervening days doing absolutely normal things. Working at the bookstore. Helping an elderly customer find a first edition she'd been searching for since 1985. Surviving story time with a group of particularly energetic 5-year-olds who had strong opinions about which voices the animals should have. Normal things. Things that did not involve constantly checking her phone or wondering what Adrian Sterling was doing or replaying the moment Lily grabbed her hand like it was a movie scene on loop. She was fine. She was completely fine. You're not fine, Claire announced on Wednesday morning, appearing in the doorway of Maya's apartment with a garment bag and a look of determination. You're spiraling. I can tell from the way you've organized your books by color instead of author. Maya looked at her bookshelf. The books were, in fact, organized by color. When had she done that? I'm not spiraling. I'm preparing. For what? A Pinterest board. For a date. With a man who owns a building. Multiple buildings. Probably several buildings I've never even seen. Claire hung the garment bag on the back of Maya's door and unzipped it with a flourish. Inside was a dress the color of butter. Soft yellow, simple cut, absolutely perfect. Claire, I can't afford. You can afford it because it's a gift. From me. Because my baby sister is going on a date with a billionaire and she's going to look like sunshine while doing it. Maya touched the fabric. It was soft. Light. Exactly the kind of dress she'd never buy for herself. What if this is a mistake, she whispered. What if I'm just a distraction for him? Something different from his usual world. Claire's expression softened. She sat on the edge of Maya's bed, patting the space beside her. Okay, listen. I've worked for his brother for 2 years. I've heard stories about Adrian. About how he checked out after his wife died. About how he threw himself into work and parenting and nothing else. About how his sister has been trying to set him up for years, and he shot down every single woman. Maya sat down heavily. So why am I different? That's the thing. Claire turned to face her. I don't think he knows. I think you showing up and being yourself short-circuited something in his carefully controlled life. And now he's trying to figure out what that means. Same as you. He canceled meetings to bring me coffee. He did. He took me to a diner and ate Mickey Mouse pancakes. He did. He spent 3 hours at a science museum watching me bond with his daughter. Claire grinned. He's falling for you, Maya. The question is whether you're going to let yourself fall back. Maya looked at the yellow dress. Thought about Adrian's smile in the museum lobby. Thought about Lily's serious voice saying you look at me like I'm a person. I'm scared, she admitted. Good. Scared means it matters. That evening, Adrian picked her up in a car that was slightly less ostentatious than before. A sedan, dark and quiet. He was wearing a navy sweater that made his eyes look almost blue in the fading light. You look. He trailed off, something shifting in his expression. Yellow was the right call. Maya smoothed the dress self-consciously. My sister picked it. She has opinions. She has excellent taste. The restaurant was, miraculously, normal. A small Italian place in Carroll Gardens with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles and a waiter who introduced himself as Vinny and meant it. Maya recognized it immediately. This is Gino's, she said, surprised. How do you know about Gino's? Adrian held out her chair. I did research. Asked around. Someone in my accounting department grew up in this neighborhood. Said this was the only place she'd eat pasta for the rest of her life. You asked your accounting department for date recommendations? I asked several departments. Accounting one. Something about the carbonara being life-changing. Maya laughed, settling into her chair. The restaurant was warm and noisy and full of families and couples who looked like they'd been coming here for decades. No one stared at Adrian. No one recognized him. They were just two people at a table, surrounded by the smell of garlic and tomatoes and bread. This is perfect, she said. Yeah, they ordered. The carbonara was indeed life-changing. The wine came in a carafe instead of a bottle with a price tag. Vinny brought them extra bread without being asked and told a long story about his grandmother's secret sauce recipe that might have been true and might have been performance art. Somewhere between the tiramisu and the espresso, Maya realized she'd stopped being nervous. Stopped calculating. Stopped wondering if she belonged here with him. She just was. Can I ask you something? Adrian said, stirring his coffee. Sure. Your sister said you used to be engaged. Maya's hand stilled on her cup. Of course Claire had told him. Claire, who meant well but had no filter and a deep belief that honesty solved everything. Briefly, she said carefully. A few years ago. What happened? Maya considered deflecting. Changing the subject. Making a joke about how her ex-fiancé had been allergic to fun and also to books, which should have been a red flag from the start. But Adrian had been honest with her. About his wife. About his guilt. About the walls he'd built. He didn't like who I was, she said finally. Not really. He liked who he thought I could become with enough polishing. The right clothes, the right friends, the right way of talking in public. He kept trying to file off my edges, and eventually I realized I'd rather keep my edges than keep him. Adrian's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. Your edges are the best part. That's sweet. Also, you haven't seen me during story time when the kids get out of control. The edges get sharper. I'd like to see that. Most people wouldn't. Most people are wrong. Maya looked at him across the table. Candlelight flickering. Vinny refilling water in the background. The comfortable noise of a restaurant full of people living their ordinary lives. Why aren't you trying to change me? She asked. You could. You're rich and powerful and probably used to getting what you want. But you're not. You're just here, eating pasta, listening. Adrian was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was low. My wife and I met in college. Before the money. Before the company. Before any of it. We were just two kids who liked each other. She used to say that the best thing about us was that we grew together instead of apart. That we kept choosing each other through every change. He looked down at his coffee. After she died, I told myself I'd never try to find that again. That it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But then you walked into my apartment wearing a dress the wrong color and talking to my daughter like she was the only person in the room, and I realized he stopped. Realized what? Maya whispered. Realized I'd been wrong. That maybe it wasn't once in a lifetime. Maybe it was just waiting. Until someone came along who didn't want me to be different. Who just wanted me to be. Maya's eyes burned. She blinked rapidly, refusing to cry in a restaurant full of strangers. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, she managed. It's not nice. It's true. They walked after dinner. Through the streets of Carroll Gardens, past brownstones with their lights glowing warm, past a group of teenagers laughing on a stoop, past an old man walking his tiny dog with enormous dignity. Adrian's hand brushed against hers. Once. Twice. The third time, Maya grabbed it. He looked down at their joined hands, then at her. Something vulnerable in his expression. Something hopeful. This okay? She asked. Yeah. His voice was rough. This is more than okay. They walked in silence for a while. Maya's hand in his. The city humming around them. Her yellow dress catching the streetlight. I have a thing on Saturday, Adrian said eventually. Charity gala. My company sponsors it every year. I have to go. Sounds terrible. It usually is. But this year, I was wondering. He hesitated. Would you come with me? Maya's steps slowed. She thought about Patricia Langston. About women in diamonds who would look at her like she was a charity project. About a world she didn't belong in, full of people who would make sure she knew it. I don't exactly blend in at those things, she said carefully. I don't want you to blend in. I want you to be there. With me. You say that now. Wait until someone asks where I went to school, or what my family does, or how I afford my apartment. Adrian stopped walking. Turned to face her, still holding her hand. Maya, I don't care about any of that. And anyone who does isn't worth our time. Our time. Our time. He said it firmly. Like it was already decided. Like she was already part of whatever this was becoming. Saturday, she said slowly. Charity gala. Me in a dress that probably costs more than my rent, surrounded by people who will definitely judge me. If you don't want to, I didn't say I don't want to. I said I'm terrified. There's a difference. Adrian almost smiled. What would make it less terrifying? Maya thought about it. You. Being there. Not leaving me alone with the vultures. And maybe Lily texting me moral support throughout the night. Lily would love that. She's very pro-moral support. I know. She told me she's been observing our compatibility patterns. Adrian laughed. Actually laughed, the sound surprising them both. She told you that? She takes her responsibilities seriously. They started walking again, still holding hands. Maya's heart was pounding, but it was a good pound. An alive pound. Saturday, she said. I'll go. But if anyone asks about my job, I'm telling them I'm a professional dinosaur roarer, just to see their faces. Please do that. I'll pay you. Deal. He walked her all the way to her building this time. Up the 3 flights of stairs, past the hissing radiator, to her apartment door. They stood in the narrow hallway, the building settling around them, a television playing faintly from somewhere below. This was. Adrian started. Really good, Maya finished. Really, really good. Yeah, he was looking at her in that way again. Like she was something unexpected. Something precious. Maya rose on her toes and kissed him. It was soft. Gentle. A question more than a statement. But when she started to pull back, his hand came up to cup her face, and he kissed her again, deeper this time, like he'd been waiting for permission he didn't know he needed. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Okay, Maya whispered. That was yeah. Good yeah. Amazing yeah. She laughed, leaning her forehead against his chest. I don't know what I'm doing, Adrian. I don't know how this works. Your world and my world, they're not. I don't care about worlds. His voice was firm. I care about you. About Lily. About the way you looked at her in the museum like she was the most interesting person you'd ever met. About the way you ate those pancakes like they were a religious experience. They were Mickey Mouse pancakes. They are a religious experience. See? That? I want more of that. I want all of it. Maya pulled back to look at him. His eyes were dark, intense, completely sincere. Saturday, she said. Gala. I'll be there. In a dress that probably glares at me judgmentally. I'll be the one counting down the minutes until we can leave and get pancakes. You're learning. I have an excellent teacher. He kissed her again, quick this time, then pulled himself away with visible effort. I should go. Before I do something stupid like ask to come inside. Probably smart. Text me when you're home safe? I am home. This is my door. Humor me. Maya smiled. Fine. I'll text you from inside my apartment, which is approximately 12 feet away. I'll wait. She unlocked her door, stepped inside, and immediately texted him, I'm inside. The radiator hisses its approval. His response came instantly. Tell the radiator I appreciate its support. Maya leaned against her closed door, grinning like an idiot. Saturday, she thought. Gala. Vultures. Bring it on. The gala was worse than she'd imagined. Not the beginning. The beginning was fine. Adrian picked her up in a car that was definitely more ostentatious than before, and Maya was wearing a dress Claire had somehow acquired that was the color of champagne and fit like it had been made for her. Her hair was actually behaving. Her shoes were technically wearable, if not exactly comfortable. Lily had texted her 7 times throughout the day, remember, chin up, make eye contact, and if anyone asks rude questions, tell them I said they're being statistically inappropriate. Maya had saved every single message. The venue was a hotel ballroom transformed into something out of a magazine. Chandeliers. Flowers that probably cost more than Maya's education. A sea of people in diamonds and silk, all of them looking like they belonged. Adrian kept her close. His hand on her back. His voice low in her ear, pointing out the worst offenders, making her laugh at inappropriate moments. It was almost fun. Then he got pulled away for 5 minutes. A board member needed to discuss something urgent. Adrian hesitated, but Maya waved him off. Go. I'll be fine. I'll stand here and look intimidating. You don't look intimidating. You look beautiful. Same thing. Go. He went. Maya stood by a pillar, sipping champagne she didn't really want, watching the beautiful people swirl around her. It was almost anthropological, like observing a species in its natural habitat. Then she heard her name. Not spoken directly to her. Spoken about her. By a cluster of women nearby, their voices carrying in that particular way rich people had when they didn't think anyone else mattered. The bookstore girl Adrian brought. Can you imagine? Apparently she works at some children's story time. Dresses up in costumes. How quaint. She's pretty, I suppose. In a common sort of way. Adrian always did have a soft spot for charity cases. Remember his wife? She came from nothing too. That ended well. Maya's hand tightened on her glass. She stared straight ahead, refusing to look at them, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. At least this one isn't after his money. She clearly doesn't have any. Give it time. They always start with the innocent act. Maya set down her champagne glass on a passing tray. Her hands were shaking slightly. Her face was hot. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away, to find Adrian, to escape. But then she heard another voice. Smaller. Fiercer. She's not a charity case. Maya turned. Lily stood at the edge of the cluster of women, wearing a dark blue dress and an expression of cold fury that looked startlingly like her father. She must have come with her aunt. Must have slipped away. Must have heard everything. Lily, sweetheart, one of the women started, her tone shifting to something condescending and soothing. I know what you were doing. Lily's voice was clear and precise and utterly unafraid. You were being cruel. Statistically, cruel people are often unhappy. But that doesn't excuse your behavior. The women stared at her, frozen. Maya is not a charity case. She's the first person since my mom died who looked at me like I was a person instead of a problem. She reads books and wears pineapple shirts and answers my questions without getting annoyed. She makes my dad smile. He didn't used to smile. Lily stepped closer to the women, her small frame somehow radiating authority. You don't know her. You don't know us. And you don't get to decide who belongs in our family. The silence that followed was absolute. Maya stood frozen, tears burning her eyes, watching this incredible child defend her to a group of women who could destroy them both with a word. One of the women opened her mouth, probably to say something terrible, but before she could, Adrian appeared. He must have sensed something. Must have seen Lily. His expression shifted from confusion to cold fury in an instant. Is there a problem here? The women scattered. Literally scattered, melting back into the crowd like the cowards they were. Adrian knelt beside his daughter. Lily, what happened? Lily's composure cracked slightly. Her lower lip trembled. They were saying mean things about Maya. Calling her a charity case. Saying she was after your money. They were wrong, Dad. They were so wrong. I know, baby. I know. Maya crossed the distance between them and knelt too, so she was at Lily's level. Hey, she said softly. Look at me. Lily looked. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Thank you, Maya said. For defending me. For saying all those things. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen. Lily blinked. You're not mad. Mad? Lily, I'm amazed. You stood up to a group of grown women who could have made your life miserable, and you did it because you wanted to protect me. Do you understand how incredible that is? Lily considered this. It was statistically appropriate. They were wrong. Someone needed to tell them. Someone did. You did. Lily's chin wobbled again. I don't like when people are mean to you. You're ours. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. You're ours. She pulled Lily into a hug, careful not to squeeze too tight. Lily hugged back, fierce and quick, then pulled away. Your dress is nice, Lily said, recovering her composure. But yellow would still be better. Maya laughed, the sound wet with unshed tears. Noted. Next time yellow. Adrian stood, pulling them both up with him. His expression was still hard, but when he looked at Maya, something softened. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I shouldn't have left you alone. Don't. You couldn't have known. And Lily handled it. She shouldn't have had to. No, Maya agreed. But she did. And she was amazing. Lily preened slightly at the praise, then looked at Maya seriously. Does this mean you're going to leave? Because of what they said? Maya's heart cracked. No, Lily. It doesn't mean that. Good. Lily nodded firmly. Because they're wrong. And statistically, wrong people shouldn't get to make decisions. They shouldn't, Maya agreed. They really shouldn't. The rest of the gala passed in a blur. Adrian didn't leave her side again. Lily stayed close, occasionally shooting death glares at anyone who looked at them wrong. By the time they escaped, Maya's feet were killing her and her emotions were raw and exposed. In the car, Lily fell asleep against Maya's shoulder, exhausted from the night's drama. Maya stared out the window, processing. Maya. Adrian's voice was quiet. What happened tonight is not your fault. I know. But it's my world. And you were right. About not belonging. She turned to look at him. I didn't say I didn't belong. I said people would judge me. There's a difference. He frowned. What's the difference? Belonging isn't about fitting in with a bunch of rich women who have nothing better to do than tear people down. Belonging is about Lily grabbing my hand at the museum. About her defending me tonight. About you looking at me like I'm something precious even when I'm wearing pineapple shirts and making jokes about heists. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Lily said you're ours, he finally said. She's never said that about anyone. Not since her mother. I know. She meant it. I know. Adrian reached across the car and took her hand. I mean it too. Whatever you want to call this, whatever we are, you're ours. If you want to be. Maya looked at him. At his guarded eyes, vulnerable now. At his daughter asleep on her shoulder. At the city lights streaming past the window. I want to be, she said quietly. Even if your world is terrifying and full of mean women in diamonds. They're not all mean. The ones who matter aren't. That's what counts. Adrian lifted her hand to his lips and kissed it. A gesture so tender, so unexpected, that Maya felt tears prick her eyes again. I'll handle the fallout from tonight, he said. The women who said those things, they're connected to my company. To my board. I'll make sure they understand that disrespecting you means disrespecting me. You don't have to, yes, he said firmly. I do. Because you're not a charity case or a social experiment or whatever they called you. You're the best thing that's happened to us in years. And anyone who can't see that doesn't belong in our lives. Our lives. Maya leaned her head back against the seat, Lily warm against her side, Adrian's hand warm around hers, and let herself feel it. The terror and the hope and the overwhelming certainty that something had shifted. Something permanent. The car pulled up to her building. Adrian helped Lily sit up, sleepy and disoriented. Maya stepped out, then leaned back in. Saturday, she said. Gala. Vultures. I survived. You more than survived. Adrian's voice was warm. You conquered. Next time, yellow armor. Whatever you want. She kissed him quick, kissed Lily's forehead, and walked into her building. Up the 3 flights. Past the hissing radiator. Into her tiny apartment. Her phone buzzed. Lily, you're still ours. That's official now. Maya smiled through tears. Always, she typed back. Always. The week after the gala was a study in contrast. Maya's world continued as it always had: story time on Saturday, shelving books on Monday, a particularly dramatic incident involving a toddler, and a display of fragile art books that somehow ended with everyone laughing and no one injured. Normal. Predictable. Safe. But threaded through the normal were texts from Lily. Photos of her latest Rubik's Cube modifications. Detailed analyses of her classmates' behavior patterns. A 3-paragraph explanation of why the school's lunch schedule was statistically inefficient that made Maya laugh out loud on the subway. And texts from Adrian. Good morning messages that arrived before she even woke up. Questions about her day that showed he actually listened to her answers. A photo of his disastrous attempt to make pancakes without a recipe, captioned, Lily says I should stick to finance. She's not wrong. He didn't push. Didn't demand. Didn't try to pull her further into his world than she was ready to go. He just showed up. Consistently. Quietly. Like someone who had finally found something worth holding on to and wasn't about to let go. On Thursday, Maya was closing up the bookstore when the bell chimed. She looked up, expecting a last-minute customer desperate for a birthday present. Instead, Lily walked in. She was alone. No Adrian. No aunt. Just a 10-year-old in a purple coat, carrying a backpack that looked too heavy for her small frame, her expression determined. Lily? Maya set down the stack of books she was holding. What are you? How did you? I took a car, Lily said matter-of-factly. The kind you order on your phone. Dad set it up for emergencies. This qualified. Qualified as what kind of emergency? Lily hesitated. It was such a small crack in her usual composure that Maya's heart clenched. I needed to talk to you, Lily said quietly. Without Dad. Without anyone. Just you. Maya crossed the store and knelt in front of her. Okay. You can talk to me. Always. But first, does your dad know where you are? I left a note. Lily pulled a folded paper from her pocket. It read, Gone to see Maya. Emergency. Don't panic. Lily, who is fine, by the way. Maya bit back a smile. That's a very good note. But we should still text him so he doesn't worry. Lily considered this, then nodded. Maya pulled out her phone and sent a quick message. Lily's here with me at the bookstore. She's safe. We'll talk soon. Adrian's response was immediate. Thank you. I was about to call the police. Tell her the note was excellent, but her execution needs work. Maya showed Lily the message. Lily smiled, a real smile, small but genuine. He's not mad. He's relieved. There's a difference. Lily nodded, then looked around the bookstore with obvious interest. It was quiet now, the last customers gone, the lights dimmed except for the warm glow over the reading nook. This is your place, Lily said. Where you do story time. This is it. Want the tour? Yes. Maya showed her everything. The children's section with its tiny chairs and well-loved books. The staff recommendations wall, where Maya had written blurbs for her favorites. The back room where new shipments arrived, still smelling of paper and ink. The reading nook with its overstuffed beanbags and a sign that read, "Shh, stories happening." Lily absorbed it all with serious attention. She touched the books gently, ran her fingers along the spines, asked questions about the organizing system and why certain books were placed at children's eye level. Kids should be able to reach the stories they want, Maya explained. If they have to ask an adult for everything, they learn that books belong to grown-ups. I want them to know the books are theirs. Lily considered this. That's logical. Thanks. I try. They ended up in the reading nook, settled into two beanbags that were definitely not designed for adult comfort, but Maya didn't care. Lily pulled off her backpack and unzipped it carefully. I brought something, she said. To show you. It's why I came. From the backpack, she produced a small box. Wooden, handmade, with a hinged lid. She held it out to Maya. Maya took it carefully. What is it? Open it. Inside, nestled on velvet, was a photograph. An older woman with kind eyes and silver hair, holding a baby. Behind her, a man with his arm around her, smiling at the camera. My mom, Lily said quietly. And my grandparents. Before. Maya's throat tightened. She looked at the photograph, at the woman who had been Lily's mother. She was beautiful. Warm. Her smile was the same as Lily's rare, genuine one. She's lovely, Maya whispered. She was. Lily's voice was steady, but her hands were clasped tightly in her lap. I don't remember her much. I was little. But I remember her smell. Like vanilla. And I remember she used to sing while she braided my hair. Terribly. Dad says she couldn't carry a tune, but she did it anyway because it made me laugh. Maya set the box down carefully and reached for Lily's hand. Thank you for showing me. That's a precious thing to share. Lily nodded, swallowing hard. I wanted you to see her. Because some of the women at the gala said things. About you trying to replace her. And I know you're not. But I wanted you to know her. So you'd understand. Understand what? Lily looked up, her dark eyes serious. My mom was amazing. But she's gone. And you're here. And that's not the same thing. You're not her. You're you. And I like you. For being you. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them back fiercely. Lily, I'm not trying to replace anyone. I would never. Your mom was your mom. She gave you the vanilla smell and the terrible singing and the way you look at the world like it's a puzzle to be solved. That's yours. Forever. No one can take that. Lily nodded slowly. But, Maya continued, if you'll let me, I'd like to be someone else in your life. Someone who shows up. Who answers your questions. Who makes terrible pancakes and wears too many pineapple shirts and thinks you're the most interesting person I've ever met. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled her hand free, reached into her backpack again, and produced a Rubik's Cube. But this one was different. It had been painted carefully, meticulously, with yellow suns on every side. I made this for you, Lily said, holding it out. It's solvable. But it's harder than normal. I modified the mechanism. Maya took the cube, turning it over in her hands. The suns were perfect. Cheerful. Yellow, like Lily had insisted from the first night. It's beautiful, Maya said. I'll treasure it. You have to solve it, Lily insisted. That's the point. It's not just for looking at. I will. I promise. But it might take me a while. I'm not a cube genius like someone I know. Lily almost smiled. I can give you hints. If you get stuck. I'd like that. They sat in the reading nook for another hour. Lily asked questions about the bookstore, about story time, about Maya's favorite books and why. Maya answered honestly, asked her own questions in return, watched this remarkable child slowly unfold in the safety of the quiet space. When Adrian finally arrived, he found them curled up in the beanbags, Maya reading aloud from a picture book about a brave little girl who built a rocket ship. Lily was leaning against her shoulder, eyes half closed, listening. He stopped in the doorway of the reading nook, and Maya saw something shift in his expression. Something raw. Something grateful. Dad, Lily said, sitting up. You found us. I did. His voice was rough. Maya texted me the address. Remembered I might need it. Lily looked at Maya. You told him where we were? Of course. Dads need to know where their kids are. It's in the rule book. There's a rule book? There should be. I'll write one. Lily climbed out of the beanbag and went to her father. He knelt and hugged her tightly, longer than usual. Lily let him. I'm sorry I worried you, she said quietly. But I had to come. It was important. I know, baby. I know. Over Lily's head, Adrian looked at Maya. There was so much in that look, gratitude, wonder, something deeper that made her chest ache. I'll wait outside, he said. Give you 2 minutes. He left, and Lily turned back to Maya. Will you come to my school recital? Lily asked. Next Friday. I'm doing a presentation on patterns in nature. It's not a big deal, but I would love to come to your recital. Really? Really. I'll be there. Front row. Possibly crying, because I cry at everything, but definitely there. Lily considered this. Crying is acceptable if it's happy crying. Sad crying would be statistically inappropriate for a school recital. I'll do my best to keep it happy. Lily nodded, satisfied. Then she walked to the door, paused, and looked back. Maya? Yeah, you're my person now. Like, one of my people. Dad and you. That's my people. Maya pressed her hand to her heart. You're one of my people too, Lily. Definitely. Lily smiled. That full, real smile that transformed her whole face. Then she was gone, the door chiming behind her. Maya sat in the reading nook for a long time, holding the yellow sun cube, feeling her heart expand in ways she hadn't known were possible. The school recital was held in the gymnasium of a private school that looked more like a small college. Maya arrived early, as promised, and found a seat in the front row. She was wearing yellow, a simple sundress under her coat, because Lily had asked and because it felt right. Adrian was already there, saving the seat next to him. You came, he said, something relieved in his voice. I said I would. I know. But people say things. You actually do them. Maya sat down, close enough that their shoulders touched. I'm a person of my word. It's a curse. It's not a curse. The recital began. Kids performed piano pieces, recited poems, showed off science projects. Maya clapped for all of them, but she was watching for Lily. When Lily finally walked onto the stage, Maya's breath caught. She was wearing a yellow dress. Bright, sunny, exactly the color Lily had insisted on from the beginning. Her dark hair was in a braid, not perfectly done, slightly lopsided, but clearly braided by someone who cared. Lily looked out at the audience, found Maya immediately, and gave the smallest nod. Then she began her presentation. It was about patterns in nature. The Fibonacci sequence in sunflowers. The spirals of nautilus shells. The way trees branch and rivers curve and lightning forks. Lily explained it all with clear, precise language, pointing to diagrams she'd drawn herself, answering questions from the audience with patience and accuracy. She was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And when she finished, when the applause swelled around her, Lily looked at Maya again. And smiled. Maya clapped until her hands hurt, tears streaming down her face. She's amazing, she whispered to Adrian. I know. His voice was thick. She gets it from her mother. Afterward, there was a reception in the cafeteria. Cookies and punch and proud parents everywhere. Lily found Maya immediately, pulling her through the crowd. Did you understand the Fibonacci part? She asked. Some people don't. I can explain it again if you need. I understood. You were incredible. The best presentation I've ever seen. Lily preened slightly. Statistically, it was probably in the top 10%. Try top 1%. A woman approached them. Older, elegantly dressed, with the kind of face that suggested she was used to getting what she wanted. Lily, darling, that was wonderful. She smiled at Maya with careful politeness. And you must be the bookstore girl we've heard so much about. Maya felt the familiar chill. The careful condescension. The way the woman's eyes flickered over her outfit, her shoes, her everything. But before she could respond, Lily stepped forward. This is Maya, Lily said firmly. She's my person. And she's not a bookstore girl. She's a storyteller. There's a difference. The woman blinked, clearly not expecting that. A storyteller, she repeated. She reads to kids and makes them laugh and helps them find the books they need. She's teaching me about emotional behavior patterns. She wears yellow even though it's not her best color because I asked her to. She's family. Maya's heart swelled. The woman looked between them, something shifting in her expression. I see. Well, it's lovely to meet you, Maya. You too, Maya managed. The woman drifted away. Lily grabbed Maya's hand and held on. You didn't have to do that, Maya said quietly. Yes, I did. That's what people do. They protect each other. Who taught you that? Lily looked up at her. You did. When you protected me from those women at the gala by not making it weird. When you let me come to your bookstore and didn't tell my dad I was being too much. When you showed up today like you promised. Maya crouched down, pulling Lily into a hug. You're never too much. You know that? You're exactly enough. Always. Lily hugged back fiercely. When they pulled apart, Adrian was watching them from across the room. His eyes were bright. His expression was something Maya couldn't name, hope and fear and love all tangled together. He walked toward them, and Maya stood, still holding Lily's hand. Lily, he said quietly. Can you give us a minute? Lily looked between them, then nodded. I need more cookies anyway. The ones here are statistically inferior, but I'm conducting research. She disappeared into the crowd. Adrian looked at Maya for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Maya's heart stopped. Before you say anything, he said quickly, I'm not proposing. Not yet. That would be insane, and we both know it. But I wanted to give you something. Something that says what I can't quite figure out how to say. He opened the box. Inside was a necklace. Simple, elegant, a thin gold chain with a small charm. A sun. Yellow gold, warm and bright. Lily helped pick it, he said. She said you needed something yellow that wasn't a shirt. I agreed. Maya touched the charm gently. Adrian. I don't know what I'm doing, he admitted. I haven't known what I was doing since you walked into my apartment. But I know that Lily is happier than she's been in years. I know that I wake up thinking about you and go to sleep thinking about you and spend all the time in between trying not to text you every 5 minutes. He took a breath. I know that when Lily said you were family, it made me want to cry. And I haven't cried since Laura died. I haven't let myself. Maya's eyes were wet. Adrian, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to decide anything. I just wanted you to know. To have something that reminds you, when you're in your bookstore or your apartment or wherever, that you're not alone. That you're ours. If you want to be. Maya took the necklace from the box. Her hands were shaking. Put it on me, she whispered. He took the necklace, his fingers warm against her neck as he fastened the clasp. The sun settled against her collarbone, perfect and warm. Maya turned to face him. I'm scared, she admitted. Of your world. Of the women who say terrible things. Of messing this up with Lily, because she's the best thing and I couldn't bear to hurt her. Adrian waited. But I'm more scared of not trying. Of walking away and always wondering what would have happened if I'd been brave enough to stay. She reached up and touched his face. I want to be yours. Both of yours. Even if it's terrifying. Even if I don't belong. I want to try. Adrian kissed her. Right there in the school cafeteria, surrounded by cookies and punch and parents pretending not to stare. He kissed her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking for years. When they finally broke apart, Lily was standing nearby, holding a cookie and looking pleased. Statistically, she announced, that was an appropriate public display of affection. The duration was slightly above average, but the emotional context justified it. Maya laughed, pulling Lily into a hug. "You're unbelievable," she said. "Statistically, I'm actually quite believable. My patterns are consistent." Adrian wrapped his arms around both of them, and for a moment, right there in the middle of a school recital, they were a family. Messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. The weeks after the recital settled into something that felt almost like routine. Almost like normal. Maya divided her time between the bookstore, her apartment, and an increasing number of evenings at Adrian's penthouse, where she and Lily would cook disastrous meals while Adrian watched with an expression of barely concealed terror. "You're using too much flour," Lily observed as Maya attempted to roll out pizza dough for the third time. "I'm expressing myself." Flour shouldn't be self-expression. It should be measurement. Maya flicked a tiny bit of flour in Lily's direction. It landed in her hair like snow. Lily stared at her for a beat. Then, very deliberately, she picked up the flour container and appended it over Maya's head. Maya stood there, white from head to shoulders, blinking through a cloud of baking ingredients. Adrian walked in just in time to see it. "I don't even want to know," he said. "Your daughter attacked me. Statistically, you started it." "She's right," Adrian said, and there was something in his voice, warmth, ease, a lightness that hadn't been there weeks ago. "You definitely started it." Maya grabbed a handful of flour and threw it at him. He dodged. Mostly. The white dusting on his dark sweater suggested he hadn't dodged enough. Lily laughed. Actually laughed, a real sound that filled the kitchen. Adrian froze, staring at his daughter like she'd just performed a miracle. Which, Maya realized, she kind of had. That was the thing about this new life. The moments of joy that snuck up on them. The way Lily was slowly, carefully learning to be a kid again. The way Adrian's shoulders dropped an inch every time Maya walked through the door. The way the penthouse, once a museum of expensive loneliness, was starting to look lived in. Maya's books appeared on the coffee table. Her pineapple-themed mug found a permanent home in the kitchen cabinet. Lily's art projects covered the refrigerator, just like in any normal house. It felt like progress. It felt like family. But underneath it all, Maya could sense something Adrian wasn't saying. A weight he still carried. A shadow that crossed his face when he thought she wasn't looking. She saw it most clearly at night, when Lily was asleep and they sat together on the couch, the city glittering beyond the windows. He would hold her, touch her hair, kiss her forehead, but there was always a moment, just before sleep, when his eyes would go distant. When something would flicker across his face that looked almost like guilt. Maya didn't push. She'd learned that pushing Adrian only made him retreat further. So she waited and loved him and hoped that someday he'd trust her with whatever was still hiding in the dark. That someday came on a Tuesday night in November. Maya had just finished her shift at the bookstore. It had been a long day, story time, a shipment of new releases that needed cataloging, and a particularly involved conversation with a customer who wanted a book recommendation for her nephew, but could only describe him as liking things. She was tired. Ready for her apartment, her radiator, her own bed. But when she walked out of the bookstore, Adrian was leaning against his car, waiting for her. "Hey," she said, surprised. "I didn't know you were coming." "I didn't either." He pushed off from the car, and she could see it immediately, the tension in his jaw, the darkness under his eyes. "Can we talk?" "Of course." She walked toward him, concerned. "What's wrong? Is Lily okay?" "Lily's fine. She's with my sister." He opened the car door. "Can we go somewhere?" "Not here. Not my place. Just somewhere." Maya got in. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, out of Brooklyn, across the bridge, into neighborhoods Maya didn't recognize. Finally, Adrian pulled up in front of a small park. It was closed for the night, gated and dark, but he had a key. He had a key to a park. "I own it," he said, answering her unspoken question. "Well, the land around it. I kept the park when I developed the rest. Couldn't bear to tear it down." They walked through the gate, into the darkness. The park was small but beautiful, old trees, winding paths, a pond with a fountain that had been turned off for the night. Adrian led her to a bench overlooking the water and sat heavily. Maya sat beside him, close enough to touch, and waited. "My wife loved this park," he said finally. "Before she died, she used to bring Lily here. Every Sunday, no matter what. They'd feed the ducks, even though the sign says not to. Laura said rules were suggestions, not requirements." He almost smiled at the memory. "After she died, I couldn't come here. Couldn't even look at it. I wanted to sell it, develop it, turn it into something that didn't remind me of everything I'd lost. But Lily asked me to keep it. Just the park. Just the memories." Maya reached for his hand. He held on like she was the only thing keeping him tethered. "Adrian," she said softly. "What's this about?" He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "The other night, Lily asked me about the accident. She's never asked before. Never wanted details. But she asked, and I told her, and she looked at me with those eyes, Laura's eyes, and she said, 'It wasn't your fault, Dad.'" He stopped. Swallowed. "And I couldn't tell her the truth. I couldn't tell her that it was. That if I'd been there, if I'd gone with them like she asked, Laura would have driven slower. Would have been more careful. Would still be stop." Maya's voice was firm. "Stop right there." He looked at her, surprised. "You've been carrying this for 5 years," she said. "Thinking you could have prevented it. Thinking it's your fault. But Adrian, you don't know that. You can't know that. The road was wet. The curve was dangerous. It was an accident. A terrible, random, unfair accident. I should have been there." "Why? So you could have died too? So Lily could have lost both parents in one day." The words hung in the air. Adrian stared at her, something cracking behind his eyes. "Lily needed you," Maya continued, her voice softer now. "She needed you alive. Present. Here. Even if you were broken. Even if you couldn't say the right things. She needed you. And you were there. You've been there every single day since." "I shut down," he whispered. "For years. I was there physically, but emotionally, you were surviving. There's a difference between shutting down and surviving. You did what you had to do to keep going. To keep her going. And now you're here. Now you're healing. Now you're letting yourself feel again." Adrian's eyes were wet. Maya had never seen him cry. She wasn't sure he'd let himself cry in years. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "How to love someone again without feeling like I'm betraying her. How to be happy when she's gone." Maya cupped his face in her hands. "Laura wouldn't want you to be miserable forever. She'd want Lily to have a full life. A happy life. She'd want you to have that too. You don't know that. I do." Maya's voice was certain. "Because if something happened to me, I'd want the same thing for you and Lily. I'd want you to find someone who loved you both. Who showed up. Who made Lily laugh and you smile. I'd want you to be okay." Adrian stared at her for a long moment. Then he broke. The tears came silently at first, then in great, heaving sobs that shook his entire body. Maya held him, right there on the bench in the dark park, and let him fall apart. She didn't say anything. Didn't try to fix it. Just held on, her arms wrapped around him, her cheek against his hair, her own tears falling silently. When he finally quieted, the moon had shifted overhead. The city hummed in the distance. The park was dark and still around them. "I've never told anyone that," he said hoarsely. "Not my sister. Not the therapists Lily made me see. No one. Thank you for telling me. I don't deserve you." "Yes," she said firmly. "You do. You deserve love and happiness and a future that doesn't erase the past, but makes peace with it. We all do." Adrian pulled back to look at her. His eyes were red, his face ravaged, but underneath it, something had shifted. Something had released. "How do you do that?" he asked. "Do what?" "See people. Really see them. And still stay." Maya thought about it. "I guess. I've spent my whole life around stories. Books, mostly. And the thing about stories is, the characters you love most aren't the perfect ones. They're the messy ones. The broken ones. The ones who are trying, even when they don't know how." She touched his face gently. "You're trying, Adrian. That's what matters. You're trying." He kissed her then. soft and desperate and full of gratitude. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I know it's fast. I know we haven't known each other long. But I love you. And I'm not saying it because I expect anything. I'm saying it because you should know. You should know what you are to me." Maya's heart swelled until she thought it might burst. "I love you too," she whispered back. "Even with all your baggage. Especially with all your baggage." He laughed, the sound wet but real. "My baggage is considerable. So is mine. We'll match." They sat on the bench for another hour, holding each other, watching the moon trace its path across the sky. And when they finally drove home, something had changed between them. Something had healed, just a little. The next morning, Maya woke to a text from Lily. "Emergency meeting today after school. My place. Bring your problem-solving brain." Maya smiled and typed back, "What kind of emergency?" The response was immediate, the kind that requires a family discussion. "Don't be late. Family discussion." Maya stared at the words, her heart warm. She arrived at the penthouse at 4 o'clock, directly from the bookstore. Lily was waiting in the living room, seated at the coffee table with papers spread out before her like a general planning a campaign. Adrian was there too, looking slightly bewildered, a cup of coffee untouched at his elbow. "Good," Lily said as Maya walked in. "You're both here. Sit." They sat. Lily arranged her papers with careful precision. Then she looked up at them with those serious, dark eyes. "I've been doing research," she announced. "On families. Specifically on how families form when they're not traditional." Maya glanced at Adrian. He looked as lost as she felt. "Lily," Adrian started carefully, "what kind of research?" "Statistical analysis. Case studies. Interviews with 3 families at school who have step-parents." She pulled out a notebook covered in her precise handwriting. "My conclusion is that the optimal timeline for family integration varies based on existing relationships, but the most successful outcomes occur when all parties communicate openly about their expectations." Adrian blinked. "You interviewed families at school?" "During lunch. It was very efficient." Maya bit back a smile. "And what did you learn?" Lily consulted her notes. "The most important factor is that the child, that's me, feels included in the decision-making process. When adults make decisions without consulting the child, resentment builds. When the child is included, the integration is statistically more successful." "Integration," Adrian repeated. "Of Maya into our family." Lily looked at him like this should be obvious. "She's already here most of the time. Her books are on our coffee table. She has a mug. But she still goes home at night, and that's inefficient." Maya's heart was pounding. "Lily, what are you saying?" Lily set down her notes and looked at Maya directly. "I'm saying you should move in. Officially. Not just visiting. Here, with us. Because you're already family, and families should live together." The room was very quiet. "Lily," Adrian said slowly, "that's a big decision. Maya might not be ready for that." "I know." Lily nodded seriously. "That's why I made a presentation. To address all potential concerns." She pulled out another paper, covered in bullet points. "Concern 1, space. We have 4 extra bedrooms. This is not an issue. Concern 2, my dad's emotional availability. He's improved by 47% since Maya entered our lives. Concern 3, financial considerations. Maya works and can contribute if she wants to, but statistically, shared expenses are more efficient. Concern 4, my adjustment. I've already adjusted. The data supports this." Maya stared at the paper, then at Lily, then at Adrian. "Your daughter," she managed, "is incredible." "I know." Adrian's voice was rough. "I'm terrified of her." Lily ignored this. Concern 5, my dad's guilt about Mom. We need to address this separately, but Maya's presence hasn't diminished my memories of Mom. If anything, it's made it easier to talk about her. So that's actually a positive." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "Lily." "I'm not done." Lily held up a hand. Concern 6, what Maya wants. I don't actually know this because I haven't asked directly. So I'm asking now." She looked at Maya with those serious eyes. "What do you want? Not what you think we need. What you want." Maya looked at Adrian, then back at Lily. Her heart was so full she thought it might crack open. I want. She took a breath. I want to be part of this family. I want to wake up here and make pancakes on Saturdays and help with homework and be there for the hard days and the good days. I want to be yours. Both of yours. For real. Lily nodded, making a note on her paper. That aligns with my projections. Adrian laughed. Actually laughed, the sound surprising them all. You made projections? He asked. Obviously. I'm not an amateur. Maya reached out and pulled Lily into a hug. Lily hugged back, fierce and quick, then pulled away. Does that mean yes? She asked. Maya looked at Adrian. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite name, hope and love and wonder all tangled together. It means, Maya said carefully, that we need to talk about it. All of us. Because moving in is a big step and we need to make sure we're all ready. But, she looked at Lily seriously, it means I want to. Very much. Lily considered this. Acceptable. We can negotiate the timeline. She gathered her papers and stood. I'll leave you two to discuss. I have homework. At the door, she paused and looked back. For the record, I did the math. The probability of this working out successfully is 94.7%. Those are excellent odds. Then she was gone. Maya and Adrian sat in silence for a moment. Then Maya started to laugh. She's unbelievable. She's yours now. You helped create this. I helped her express herself. She was always this. I just gave her permission. Adrian reached for her hand. So, moving in. Moving in. Maya shook her head. I can't believe your 10-year-old just gave a presentation on cohabitation. I can. She's been planning this for weeks. I found notes. Of course you did. Adrian pulled her closer. Are you sure? About this? About us. Maya looked at him, this guarded, complicated, healing man. She thought about Lily and her presentations and her fierce loyalty. She thought about the penthouse that had become a home, the books on the coffee table, the pineapple mug in the cabinet. I've never been more sure of anything, she said. But we need to take it slow. Not Lily slow. Actual slow. I need to keep my apartment for a while. Just in case. Just until we're sure. Adrian nodded. Whatever you need. And we need to keep talking. Really talking. About Laura, about your guilt, about everything. No more hiding. I know. He squeezed her hand. I'm working on it. Therapy, actually. Started last week. Maya stared at him. You did. Lily suggested it. Said it would be statistically beneficial. He almost smiled. She's right about most things. Maya leaned into him, her head against his chest. We're really doing this. We're really doing this. And your daughter is going to run our lives with color-coded charts and probability calculations. Probably. Are you okay with that? Maya smiled against his sweater. I wouldn't have it any other way. 3 weeks later, Maya officially moved into the penthouse. It wasn't a big production. No moving trucks, no dramatic scenes. Just a series of car trips carrying boxes of books, her collection of pineapple shirts, and the hissing radiator that Adrian had insisted on keeping even though it made no sense. We can't get rid of the radiator, Lily had said firmly. It's part of her. So the radiator was installed in Maya's new room, a room she'd chosen herself, one with windows that faced the park and space for all her books. The radiator hissed contentedly in the corner, and Maya smiled every time she heard it. The first night in her new room, Lily appeared in the doorway with her tablet. Data collection, she announced. First night in new environment. Need to record your emotional state for baseline comparison. Maya patted the bed beside her. Come here. Lily climbed up and settled against Maya's shoulder, just like she had in the bookstore that first time. How do you feel? Lily asked. Maya thought about it. Happy. Scared. Hopeful. A little like I'm dreaming and might wake up. Lily nodded, typing on her tablet. Typical emotional range for major life transitions. The fear should decrease within 2 to 4 weeks as you establish new routines. And the happiness? Lily looked up at her. That's probably permanent. Statistically, once people find their family, the happiness doesn't go away. Maya kissed the top of her head. I love your statistics. I love you too. It was the first time Lily had said it directly. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, Lily. So much. They sat like that for a while, the radiator hissing, the city lights glittering beyond the window. Eventually, Adrian appeared in the doorway, his expression soft. Room for one more? Always, Maya said. He climbed onto the bed, wrapping his arms around both of them. They lay there, the three of them, a family in the dark. Happy? Adrian whispered in Maya's ear. More than I knew I could be. Good. That's all I want. For both of you. Maya turned her head to kiss him, soft and quick. You have us, she whispered. We're not going anywhere. Outside, the city hummed on. Inside, three people held on to each other and let themselves finally believe. The invitation arrived on a Thursday, embossed on cream-colored cardstock, so thick it felt like cardboard. Maya found it on the kitchen counter when she came home from the bookstore, tucked between Lily's latest Rubik's Cube creation and a takeout menu Adrian had been ignoring for weeks. She picked it up, read it, and felt her stomach drop. The Sterling Foundation Annual Gala. Black tie. This Saturday. Hosted by Adrian Sterling, CEO. Underneath the formal language, a handwritten note from Adrian's sister. Maya, please come. Adrian needs to stop hiding you. Also, I want to see his face when you walk in looking gorgeous. Rachel. Maya set the invitation down carefully. She hadn't been to an elite event since the charity gala. The one where women had whispered about her. The one where Lily had defended her with fierce, perfect clarity. The one where Maya had realized, really realized, how wide the gap was between her world and Adrian's. She'd been living in his world for weeks now. Sleeping in his penthouse. Drinking coffee from his expensive machine. Watching Lily do homework at the kitchen island. But that was private. That was safe. This would be public. This would be everyone. Maya? She turned. Adrian stood in the doorway, still in his work clothes, his expression carefully neutral. He'd clearly seen the invitation. You don't have to go, he said quietly. If it's too much. If you're not ready. Rachel means well, but she doesn't understand. She wants to see my face when I walk in looking gorgeous. Adrian blinked. What? Your sister. She wrote me a note. She wants to see your face when I walk in looking gorgeous. A pause. Then, unexpectedly, Adrian laughed. That's absolutely something Rachel would say. She's not wrong. Maya picked up the invitation again, turning it over in her hands. I should go. I need to go. Eventually, I have to face your world. Might as well be at an event your sister is hosting, where at least one person is on my side. Adrian crossed the kitchen and took her hands. You have more than one person on your side. You have me. You have Lily. You have Rachel. And anyone who isn't on your side can answer to me. That's sweet. Also slightly terrifying. I can be terrifying when necessary. I know. I've seen your boardroom face. He almost smiled. So you'll come. Maya took a breath. Thought about the whispers. The judgment. The way those women had looked at her like she was something they'd scraped off their shoes. Then she thought about Lily, standing in the middle of them, fierce and unafraid. About Adrian, holding her hand through the worst of it. About the life they were building, together, despite everything. Yes, she said. I'll come. Saturday arrived too fast. Maya spent the afternoon in a state of controlled panic, trying on dresses that Claire had delivered with military precision. There were 4 of them, all borrowed from somewhere, all beautiful, all wrong. The first was too formal. The second was too casual. The third made her look like she was attending a funeral. The 4th stop, Claire commanded as Maya reached for the 4th dress. That's the one. Put it on and stop overthinking. Maya put it on. It was gold. Not yellow gold. A floor-length gown that caught the light and held it, that made her skin glow and her eyes bright. It fit like it had been made for her, which, Claire admitted, it basically had. I know a tailor, Claire said smugly. Also, I may have stolen your measurements from that dress you wore to the last gala. You stole my measurements? I prefer creatively acquired. Now look in the mirror. Maya looked. The woman staring back at her was beautiful. Confident. Like she belonged in a ballroom full of rich people. like she had every right to be there. "That's not me," Maya whispered. "It is now." Claire came up behind her, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "You've spent your whole life being small, Maya, making yourself fit into spaces that were too tight. This space, his world, it's not too tight. It's just different. And you're allowed to take up room in it." Maya's eyes burned. "Since when are you so wise?" "Since always. You just never listen." Maya laughed, the sound wobbly. "I'm scared." "I know. Do it anyway." Lily appeared in the doorway, already dressed in a deep blue gown that Rachel had helped her choose. She took one look at Maya and nodded approvingly. "Statistically correct color choice. Gold complements your skin tone and makes a statement of confidence." "Thank you, Lily." "You're welcome." Dad's having a meltdown in the living room. He's been checking his watch every 30 seconds for the last hour. Maya smiled. "Let's go rescue him." Adrian's meltdown was immediately apparent. He stood by the windows, adjusting his tie, checking his watch, adjusting his tie again. When he turned and saw Maya, he stopped. Completely stopped. Maya walked toward him, the gold dress swishing around her feet, Lily trailing behind like a tiny bridesmaid. "You look," Adrian started. Stopped. Started again. "I don't have words." "That's a first." "I mean it. You take my breath away." Maya reached him, close enough to touch. "You clean up okay yourself." He pulled her into a kiss, gentle but intense, and when they pulled apart, Lily was making notes on her tablet. Emotional response, significant. Physical indicators, elevated heart rate, dilated pupils. Conclusion, Dad is very attracted to Maya. Data recorded for future reference. "Lily," Adrian said, "sometimes you're terrifying." "I know. You've mentioned." They went to the gala. The venue was even more impressive than the last one. A historic hotel ballroom, chandeliers dripping with crystals, flowers cascading from every surface. Hundreds of people in diamonds and silk, champagne flowing, music swelling. Maya held onto Adrian's arm and kept walking. The whispers started immediately. She could feel them, like insects buzzing at the edge of hearing. Could see the way heads turned, eyes tracked, lips moved behind manicured hands. But something was different this time. Adrian didn't let go of her hand. Didn't leave her side. When they stopped to talk to people, he introduced her clearly. "This is Maya Chen. She's my partner. Not my girlfriend. Not the woman I'm seeing. Partner." Like they were equals. Like she belonged. And slowly, something shifted. People were curious, yes. But some of them were genuinely warm. A woman from the museum board remembered Maya from the robotics exhibit and asked about Lily. A man who donated to children's literacy programs wanted to talk about her work at the bookstore. A young couple, clearly new to this world, looked at her with something like hope, like maybe they could belong here too. Not everyone was kind. Maya caught the stares, the whispers, the women who looked her up and down and found her wanting. But for every cold glance, there was a warm one. For every whisper, there was someone who smiled and meant it. And then there was Rachel. Adrian's sister descended on them halfway through the evening, a whirlwind of energy and expensive perfume. She grabbed Maya in a hug that was entirely genuine. "You came. And you look amazing." "Adrian, doesn't she look amazing?" "She does," Adrian agreed. "I told her." "You told her? That's it?" "Adrian, you have to gush. Women like gushing." "I don't gush." "Then learn." Rachel turned back to Maya. "Come with me. I need to introduce you to people who actually matter. The ones who won't gossip about you behind your back." Maya looked at Adrian. He nodded. "I'll find Lily. She's supposed to be with the other kids, but she's probably conducting interviews somewhere." "Probably." Rachel pulled Maya into the crowd. The next hour was a blur of names and faces and handshakes. Rachel introduced her to everyone, board members, donors, old family friends, new money trying to break in. And with each introduction, Maya felt something shift. These weren't the women from the last gala. These were people who looked at her with genuine interest, who asked real questions, who listened to her answers. A woman whose son had autism wanted to know about Lily's progress. A man who'd grown up in Brooklyn wanted to talk about his favorite childhood bookstore. A retired professor, sharp-eyed and direct, told Maya she was exactly what Adrian needed. "You've softened him," the professor said. "I've known him 20 years. He was calcifying. You've chipped away the armor." "I don't know about that." "I do. Keep doing it." By the time Rachel finally released her, Maya felt almost lightheaded. So many people. So many names. But underneath the overwhelm, something else. The beginning of belonging. She found Adrian by the bar, talking to a man in an expensive suit. When he saw her, he excused himself immediately. "You look overwhelmed." "I am overwhelmed. Also, your sister is a force of nature." "She is." "Did she behave?" "She introduced me to approximately 400 people and told all of them I've softened you." Adrian's lips twitched. "You have." "I know. But now everyone knows." "That's the point." Before Maya could respond, a voice cut through the crowd behind them. "Well, well." The bookstore girl made it back. Maya turned. Patricia Langston stood there, flanked by two of the women from the last gala. Her smile was sharp as glass. "Patricia." Adrian's voice was cold. "I don't believe we invited you." "I'm on the board, darling. I go where I want." Her eyes flickered over Maya. "Interesting choice of dress. Gold. Very ambitious." Maya felt the old fear rise. The instinct to shrink, to apologize, to make herself smaller. Then she felt Adrian's hand close around hers. "The dress is perfect," he said evenly. "As is the woman wearing it. If you have nothing kind to say, Patricia, I suggest you say nothing at all." Patricia's eyes widened. Clearly, she wasn't used to being spoken to like that. I know what you were merely. I've known for years. The whispers, the judgments, the way you've made everyone who doesn't fit your narrow definition of acceptable feel unwelcome. It ends tonight." Maya stared at him. The ballroom had gone quiet around them, people turning to watch. "Adrian," Patricia started, her voice sharpening, "you can't talk to me like this. I've known your family for decades. I was friends with Laura. Laura would be ashamed of you." The words landed like a slap. Patricia's face went white. The women beside her shifted uncomfortably. "Laura spent her life trying to make people feel welcome," Adrian continued, his voice low but carrying. "She would have hated what you've become. What you do to people who don't have the right last name or the right address. She would have crossed the room to stand beside someone like Maya, not tear her down." Maya's eyes burned. "Now," Adrian said, "I think it's time for you to leave." Patricia drew herself up. "You can't, I can. I'm the largest donor to this foundation. I'm the reason this gala exists. And I'm telling you, publicly, that your presence here is no longer welcome. Not tonight. Not ever." The silence was absolute. Patricia looked around the room, searching for support. Finding none. One by one, the people around her looked away. Finally, with a sound of pure fury, she turned and walked out. Her companions followed, scurrying behind her like chastised dogs. The ballroom stayed quiet for a moment longer. Then someone started clapping. It was Rachel, standing near the back, her hands coming together slowly. Others joined in. A smattering at first, then more. By the time the applause died down, half the room had participated. Adrian stood still, his hand still wrapped around Maya's, his expression unreadable. Maya tugged his arm, pulling him toward her. She couldn't find words. "I should have done it years ago." His voice was rough. "She's been poisoning events like this for as long as I can remember. Laura used to say we should just ignore her. That she wasn't worth the energy. Laura sounds like she was wiser than both of us." "She was." He looked at Maya, something vulnerable in his eyes. "But she never had to defend me in public. She never had someone attack her just for existing. I couldn't let it happen again. Not to you." Maya reached up and touched his face. "I love you. I love you too. So much it terrifies me." "Good. Terrified is good. Means it matters." From somewhere behind them, Lily appeared, squeezing through the crowd. "Did I miss it?" she demanded. "Rachel said there would be a confrontation. I came as fast as I could." "It's over," Maya said. "Your dad was magnificent." Lily looked at Adrian, then at the retreating backs of Patricia and her friends. You expelled her from the premises? I did. Lily nodded approvingly. Statistically appropriate response. I'm proud of you. Adrian laughed, the sound surprised out of him. Thank you, Lily. You're welcome. Now can we get pancakes? This event is statistically deficient in carbohydrates. Maya looked at Adrian. He looked at her. Pancakes, they said together. They left the gala early, the three of them, and found a diner 3 blocks away. It wasn't as good as the New Jersey place or even the Park Slope diner, but the pancakes were passable and the coffee was hot and Lily was happy. Halfway through her second pancake, Lily set down her fork. I have something to say, she announced. Maya and Adrian waited. Lily looked at them both, her serious eyes moving from one to the other. You're my family, she said. Both of you. I know we're not traditional. I know Mom's not here. But you're mine. And I'm yours. And that's, she paused, searching for words. That's statistically the best thing that's ever happened to me. Maya felt tears streaming down her face. Adrian's eyes were bright. Lily, he started, his voice breaking. I'm not done. Lily held up a hand. I've been thinking about the future, about what comes next. And I've decided that when you get married, which you will, statistically, within the next 18 months, I want to be the one who gives Maya away. Maya choked on a laugh. Gives me away? Not gives. Presents. Escorts. Whatever the correct terminology is. Lily looked at her seriously. You need someone to walk you down the aisle. Your parents are in Flushing, but they're not. They don't understand this world. I do. And I want to be the one who hands you to Dad. Symbolically. Adrian stared at his daughter. You've thought about this. I've thought about everything. I made charts. Of course you did. Maya reached across the table and took Lily's hand. Lily, if, when your dad and I get married, I would be honored to have you walk me down the aisle. There's no one I'd rather have by my side. Lily nodded, satisfied. Good. That's settled. Now can we order more pancakes? These are statistically insufficient. Maya laughed and flagged down the waitress. Later, back at the penthouse, Maya stood at the windows and looked out at the city. The gala felt like a dream. Patricia's face, Adrian's words, the applause, it all seemed distant now, unreal. Adrian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. You're quiet. Processing. Good processing or bad processing? Maya leaned back against him. Good. I think. It's just a lot. Tonight. Everything. I know. He kissed her shoulder. But it's over. And you were amazing. I stood there and did nothing. You stood there and let me defend you. That's harder than it looks. Most people would have jumped in, made it worse, tried to fix it. You trusted me to handle it. Maya considered this. I guess I did. Thank you for that. His voice was soft. For trusting me. For being here. For being you. Maya turned in his arms to face him. Where else would I be? I don't know. Somewhere safer. Somewhere easier. There's no safer place than with you and Lily. No easier place either. But I didn't sign up for easy. What did you sign up for? Maya thought about it. The interview date. The museum. Lily's presentations and Adrian's guarded eyes and the slow, careful process of building something real. I signed up for this, she said. Messy and complicated and absolutely terrifying. I signed up for pancakes at diners and gala drama and a 10-year-old who runs our lives with color-coded charts. I signed up for you. Adrian kissed her, slow and deep, and when they pulled apart, his eyes were wet. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Stop saying that. It's true. It's not. You deserve love and happiness and a daughter who adores you. You deserve to heal. You deserve to let yourself be loved. I'm working on it. I know. That's why I'm here. They stood at the window for a long time, holding each other, the city glittering below them. And somewhere in the apartment, Lily's radiator hissed its approval. The morning after the gala, Adrian was gone when Maya woke up. This wasn't unusual. He had early meetings sometimes, board calls with international partners, the kind of obligations that didn't care about weekends. But something felt different. The space beside her was cold, like he'd been gone for hours. She found Lily in the kitchen, already dressed, a plate of perfectly arranged pancakes in front of her. "Dad's doing something," Lily said without looking up from her tablet. "He wouldn't tell me what." Said it was adult business, which is statistically vague and concerning. Maya poured herself coffee. "When did he leave?" 6:30. He was dressed in his important suit, the one he wears when he's about to make people cry. Maya's stomach tightened. Make people cry? Financially. He makes them cry financially. Lily looked up. "Are you worried?" "I don't know. Should I be?" Lily considered this. Statistically, Dad's behavior has been optimal since you moved in. Any deviation from optimal would be concerning. But he left a note. She slid a piece of paper across the counter. Maya picked it up. Adrian's handwriting, neat and precise, gone to handle something. Back by noon. Trust me. Trust me. Maya had trusted him at the gala. Had stood still and let him defend her. Had watched him face down Patricia Langston and her decades of social power without flinching. She could trust him now. "Okay," she said, setting down the note. "Pancakes?" "Obviously." They ate together, Lily narrating her plans for the day, a Rubik's Cube modification project, some research on probability theory, a scheduled video call with her tutor. Normal Saturday things. At 11:30, Maya's phone buzzed. "Adrian, come to the address I'm sending. Bring Lily. It's time." Maya stared at the message. Time for what? But she trusted him. So she got Lily, found a car, and went. The address led them to a building in Manhattan that Maya didn't recognize. Old, distinguished, with a brass plaque beside the door that read, "The Sterling Club, EST 1923. "The Sterling Club," Lily read aloud. "That's Dad's social club. He's been a member since before I was born. It's statistically very exclusive." Maya's heart hammered. Why would he bring them here? They walked inside. The lobby was all dark wood and oil paintings, old money dripping from every surface. A man in a uniform greeted them by name, of course he did, and led them to a large meeting room at the end of a long hallway. The room was full of people. Men and women in expensive clothes, seated around a massive mahogany table. At the head of it stood Adrian, still in his important suit, looking like he'd been born to command this space. And at his side, looking furious, was Patricia Langston. "Maya." Adrian crossed the room to her, taking her hands. "Thank you for coming." "What is this?" she whispered. "The club board meeting. Once a month." He paused. "At the foundation gala 2 nights ago, Patricia Langston publicly insulted my partner, Maya Chin. She referred to her as the bookstore girl, in a tone that made her contempt clear. She has a history of this behavior, years of making people feel unwelcome in spaces where they have every right to be." Patricia's face was mottled red. "This is a club matter, Adrian. You can't bring outsiders. Maya is not an outsider. She's my partner. She's family. And this club," he looked around the table, meeting eyes. "This club has been part of my family for 3 generations. My grandfather helped found it. My father served on this board for 30 years. And I've been a member my entire adult life. As of this morning, I'm resigning my membership. Effective immediately." Gasps around the table. Patricia's mouth dropped open. "You can't," she sputtered. "Your family, my family is sitting right there." Adrian gestured to Maya and Lily. "My family doesn't need a club that tolerates cruelty. My family doesn't need a space where people like Patricia feel entitled to tear others down. My family needs me to stand up for what's right, even when it costs something." Maya's eyes burned. She gripped the arms of her chair, barely breathing. Furthermore, Adrian continued, "I'm withdrawing my financial support from any organization that Patricia Langston is affiliated with. That includes the foundation board she sits on, the charity she chairs, and any future endeavors she undertakes. If you want my money, you choose, her or me." The silence was absolute. Patricia stood, her chair scraping back. "This is outrageous." "You can't, I can. I am." Adrian's voice was calm. "And I'll tell you something else, Patricia. Every person in this room knows what you are. They've known for years. They just didn't have the courage to say anything. Now they do." He looked around the table one more time. "The floor is open for discussion. But my decision is made. Maya sat frozen as the room erupted. Voices rose, arguments broke out, people took sides. Patricia stormed out halfway through, followed by a few loyalists. But most stayed. Most looked at Adrian with something new in their eyes, respect, maybe. Or the beginning of it. Lily was taking notes on her tablet, her expression intensely focused. When it was over, when the room had cleared, when decisions had been made, when Adrian had officially severed ties with the club his family had helped build, Maya finally found her voice. "You resigned," she whispered. "Your family's club. You just walked away." Adrian turned to her. "It was just a building. Just a membership. You're more important. But your grandfather would have liked you." He took her hands. He was a butcher's son from Queens. Made his own money. Hated people who thought they were better than anyone else. He would have taken one look at Patricia and thrown her out himself. Maya laughed, the sound wet. "You didn't have to do this." "I know. That's why I did it. Because I wanted to. Because you deserve someone who chooses you publicly, visibly, in front of everyone. Not just in private. You chose me at the gala. That was a start. He looked around the empty room. This is a statement. To everyone who matters. That you're not temporary. That you're not a phase. That you're family. Full stop." Lily looked up from her tablet. Statistically, this was an optimal display of commitment. "I'm recording it for posterity." Maya pulled Adrian into a hug, burying her face in his chest. "I love you," she mumbled into his jacket. "I love you so much it's ridiculous. I love you too. More than I knew I could love anyone. After Laura, I thought that part of me was gone. Dead. But you woke it up. You brought me back to life." Maya pulled back to look at him. "We brought each other back. That's what families do." Lily appeared beside them, slipping her hand into Maya's. "Can we go home now?" she asked. Maya laughed and squeezed her hand. "Yeah, Lily. Let's go home." They walked out of the Sterling Club together, the three of them, and didn't look back. 1 year later, on a Saturday in June, they got married. It wasn't a big wedding. No ballroom, no chandeliers, no society page coverage. Just a small garden behind a bookstore in Brooklyn, Maya's bookstore, Page and Palette, which she'd finally bought with help from Adrian and a small business loan she'd insisted on getting herself. The garden was full of flowers. Yellow flowers mostly, because Lily had designed the arrangements and yellow was non-negotiable. String lights hung overhead. Mismatched chairs held a small crowd of people who actually mattered. Claire, crying before the ceremony even started. Rachel, already plotting the reception playlist. A handful of Maya's bookstore regulars. A few of Adrian's colleagues who'd proven themselves worthy. And Lily. Lily walked Maya down the aisle. She wore a yellow dress, of course, and carried a small bouquet of sunflowers. Her dark hair was in a perfect braid. Maya had learned to do it properly over the past year, practicing until Lily deemed her technique statistically acceptable. At the end of the aisle, Adrian waited. He was crying. Openly, unashamedly crying, which made Maya cry too, which made Lily roll her eyes and mutter something about emotional volatility. But when Lily placed Maya's hand in Adrian's, she was smiling. That full, real smile that transformed her whole face. "She's yours," Lily said quietly. "Take care of her." "I will," Adrian promised. "For the rest of my life." The ceremony was short and simple. Vows they'd written themselves, full of inside jokes and promises and love. When the officiant pronounced them married, Adrian kissed Maya like he'd been waiting his whole life for permission. Lily pretended to be embarrassed, but was smiling too much to pull it off. The reception was in the bookstore itself. Bookshelves lined with fairy lights, a cake shaped like a stack of children's books, a playlist that alternated between Maya's indie favorites and Adrian's inexplicable love for 80s rock. Lily gave a speech, 3 pages, single-spaced, full of statistics about marriage success rates and emotional compatibility that had everyone laughing and crying in equal measure. Near the end of the night, Maya found herself standing alone for a moment, looking out at the people she loved. Claire dancing with Rachel. Adrian's colleagues arguing with Maya's bookstore regulars about the best novels of the decade. Lily in the corner, teaching a small group of kids how to solve Rubik's Cubes, her serious face softened by joy. Adrian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Happy? So happy it's ridiculous. Good. He kissed her temple. That's all I ever wanted. For both of us. Maya turned in his arms to face him. Thank you. For everything. For showing up at my bookstore with coffee. For trusting me with Lily. For choosing me every single day. Thank you for being you. For not pretending. For loving my daughter like she's your own. For making us a family. From across the room, Lily caught Maya's eye. She held up her Rubik's Cube, the yellow one she'd made, the one Maya had finally learned to solve, and smiled. Maya smiled back, her heart so full it might burst. This was her family. Messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. And they were just getting started.